Hey, everybody. Different location, but we're here. After hours. Jamie's here. I'm here. What's up, everybody? Jamie, how you feeling? A little bit better now than you did about an hour ago, huh?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had some bad mojo going about halftime there, even though they were up 24-13. It was not feeling good, and that third quarter was rough, but credit to the Chargers. They pulled it out. The offense made the plays they needed to. The defense got some turnovers and some stops, and they figured out a way to win the game. So they deserve a lot of credit.
Yeah, this was reminiscent of the Steelers game a little bit in that they had the big lead. They thought they'd run away with it, maybe, step on the gas a little bit. And then, boy, it got ugly. And then at the end, they were able to pull away.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals had all the momentum through most of the second quarter and well, maybe not most of the second quarter, late in the second quarter and the entire third quarter. Seemed like the offensive line was falling apart. The secondary was struggling. Chargers were turning the ball over. It was just rough all the way around for like a quarter and a half. And then start of the fourth quarter, they get that fumble where it looks like the Bengals are going to drive down and take the lead. They get the fumble, run it back for the touchdown, and then it's that righted the ship and everything just kind of not normalized. This is the Chargers, but everything worked out the way we needed it to from there.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you see me all right, Jamie?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, mine went out, so I'm just gonna go with it. Yeah, I think it was really kind of a tale of two quarters, at least the first quarter, fourth quarter. In that, to start, they got those two turnovers, the Michael Davis interception, and what was the other one? The fumble, was
The
that in the
fumble for
first quarter?
Campbell. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the fourth quarter, they were able to get they were able to get uh, the
The
two other
fumble, the interception.
turnovers. So yeah, two other turnovers. Sorry, I got things going on over here for the stream. Two turnovers. They were able to get the stop on fourth down. So while it got a little hairy in the second and third quarter, they were able to start strong and then finish strong to close it all out. This was such a huge win in a team that was so red hot to hold Joe Mixon to 54 yards, regardless of the lead they had to begin with. The fact that they were able to stop the run early on, which we saw a lot of early no Jerry Tillery and a lot more Brendan Fehoko and Joe Gaziano, which was nice to see, and some Justin Jones, who ended up leaving towards the end of that game. But there was a lot of really, really good things, and I think it's really, really important to get this win on the road against a red-hot Bengals team who is – they were looking like they were going to be close to the one seed, at least sniffing it at this point. And to go in there and win on the road was huge.
Yeah, and to overcome, I mean, think about everything they overcame. They have that 24-point lead. They lose Bosa, they lose Justin Jones. They start turning the ball over in the second quarter. It just looks like things are falling apart, and it's going to be the same old Chargers. And then, I think what really turned it for them, people will point to the fumble recovery for the touchdown. I think what really ultimately turned it was not allowing the Bengals to convert on the 2-point conversion to make it 24-24. That seemed to kind of galvanize the defense. And at that point, the offense was still struggling. The following possession, the Chargers had a bad possession down deep in their own territory. And Herbert escapes a sack, almost completes that pass to Cook, who isn't looking for the ball. They have to punt. That whole sequence right there, you can just feel the game slipping away. The Bengals get the ball on their own 43-yard line within like 3 plays. They're inside the Chargers 40. And then you get that fumble recovery for the touchdown and everything just clicks. So I think it really started with keeping them out of the end zone on that 2-point conversion attempt. The fumble kind of helped the snowball effect go, and then everything just kind of settled down. The defense started making plays. The offense put the ball in the end zone there at the end of the game, and it was just everything just kind of fell back into place.
Yeah, big play by Christian Covington and Derwin James on that 2-point conversion. That was a huge swing, and they were celebrating like it, and they should have. I know a lot of people didn't like how hyped the Chargers were after that stop on 2-point conversion, while you give up like 20 plus unanswered at that point. But it was big. I mean, the Mixon fumble is a big swing in that game and momentum, and the fact that Tavon Campbell could take it, scoop it, and score was huge to put more points on the board. But yeah, I mean, that was a really, really big play that helped swing that game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a defense that has not been able to stop the run at all season. they've been getting progressively better during the season. So to come up with that stop and that spot was huge for them. And then, like I said, you start seeing the defense get more aggressive. You see the double slot blitz on a third down play there with Adderley and Bosa to get the sack.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, it was awesome. And then you see a delayed blitz on another third down with Tranquil, who gets home for the sack. And things just start adding up. One positive play turns into 2, turns into 3, turns into 4. Now all of a sudden the offense is settling down because the defense is making plays. The offense is able to go down and punch the ball in late in the game. They run off most of the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game there with the ball. Everything worked out. They made the plays they needed to make when they needed to make them the most. And that's something that they haven't always done this year. It's a hallmark of their wins for sure, making key plays in key moments. Not doing so has been a hallmark of their losses. So to see them do that on the road against a good football team was enormous, and it should build a lot of confidence, especially when you look at 6 sacks with no Joey Bosa on the field.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. They had to manufacture some pressure with blitzes. They had Nwosu step up and have a great game. He had 2 tackles in the game. Both of them were sacks. Rumph had a sack. You had Derwin and Adderley split a sack.
Mm-hmm.
Fackrell got some pressure. They started getting pressure up the middle. Their defensive tackles started moving the pocket, and that kind of changed the whole flow of the game. As soon as they started getting pressure in Burrow's face, the whole flow of the Bengals offense changed.
Oh, absolutely. Of course it did. And it seemed like there was a time after that 2-point conversion when Derwin James got sent on a blitz. And I think right after that came that Derwin James, Nasir Adderley slot blitz off the edges. And everything changed from there. I mean, they were constantly getting pressure on Burrow. They knew they could get it, especially in the middle. And the delayed blitz, you mentioned Tranquil. Kaiser White had a really big pressure in there. I think he had a sack too. There was a lot of good play from the edges, and the fact that Joey Bosa goes down early in that game, they could still get pressure and get to Joe Burrow late. And I know the finger is going to be like a big storyline come Monday, but it seemed like after it took him about a series and a half to kind of figure it out, but he was slinging that ball at the end of that game. It wasn't like, I don't know if he got a shot or what, but it did not seem like it was hampering him much at all towards the end of that game. So I know that he hurt his finger, and obviously he had a lot of heart to go back out there and still sling it and not wear any tape or a glove or anything. But still, I don't think it was that big of a difference on the game.
No, I mean, it made a little bit of a difference at the end of the half where it was pretty clear that the coaches didn't want him to throw the ball.
Oh, yeah.
They had a chance to clock it and try to take a shot down the field, and they opted not to do that. They wanted to get him in and get him some treatment in halftime. So they let the clock run out, and he was pissed. He was not happy about that. And the first series or two of the second half, it seemed like the ball was coming out a little wonky, a little wobbly there, but he settled down. He was throwing some darts late in the game. So I think people will probably make a bigger deal out of that than they need to.
Like comparing him to Wayne Gretzky, like Manny says.
How ridiculous was that?
That was wild.
Like, all he's doing is targeting Tavon Campbell and Chris Harris. This isn't rocket science.
Yeah.
Would Wayne Gretzky have thrown that pick in the red zone, in the end zone, or would he have seen Chris Harris lurking underneath?
Well, he plays hockey, so that's a hard thing to say. But yeah, I think Gretzky would have made a smarter decision. Yes.
He sees everything before it happens, before everybody else. Okay,
I know.
That's why he turned the ball over 3 times today. Awesome.
Yeah.
We're trying a little bit too hard to annoy a second-year quarterback. Let's just let him breathe a little bit.
For sure. And Otto had a pretty good stat here. Just a reminder, points off turnovers. Chargers scored 17. The Bengals scored 13 off both of Eckler's fumbles. So the game would have been 24-9. Great game by the defense. Yeah,
the defense played great. And that's kind of been the story of the Bengals season. I don't remember if we talked about it a lot during the preview show, but the Bengals offense struggles to move the ball the length of the field on a consistent basis. When they score in bunches, it's usually because they're getting turnovers and they're getting short fields, and that's what we saw today. Most of their best drives came with short fields after turnovers. They weren't really marching the ball up and down the field on a consistent basis They were just taking advantage of mistakes. And they, for the most part, the Chargers limited the big plays too. You didn't really see any deep balls. I'm sure the pinky had something to do with that. But most of what they were doing was short and mid-range throws, just trying to get the ball out quick because they didn't have the time to get the ball deep with the way the pressure was getting to Burrow. So they really limited those deep plays. They kept everything in front of them. They stopped the run. They got to Burrow. They did everything they needed to do. And, short of a couple turnovers, they pretty much controlled that game.
Yeah, and I think the one deep one I can remember off the top of my head is that touchdown that fell between Michael Davis and Nasir Adderley, which kind of was a blown coverage there. But Isaac has a question. If Burrow is Gretzky, who's Herbert? Michael Jordan, right?
Obviously.
Or is it Muhammad Ali?
Oh, that's a good one.
I'll let you think about that. Yeah, so I mean, I think another great thing we saw today was a lot more of that RPO that we've been kind of pining for weeks now. They got it early on. They had a hurry up, and they got it was a bullet on fourth on the deep shot to it wasn't the fourth down. Sorry, I was getting my plays confused. The hurry up, there was the deep shot to Mike Williams. It opened up to Herbert, but it was the wide open touchdown to Keenan Allen was RPO.
Yep, their second touchdown, I believe.
Right. Yeah.
Yep,
and then after
RPO.
that, the Jalen Guyton big completion was off RPO, and he was wide open too. I mean, it was a easy pickings today, and they finally went back to it, and it was so successful.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you have to respect Herbert running the ball or handing the ball off,
Yeah.
and it draws in a defense that struggles against the run, you're going to have some success. And that's what they had. That they got to do more of that. Way more of that. Keep those ends honest.
Nick has a pretty good answer to that Gretzky question.
Gretzky's dad.
Yep, Gretzky's dad. Good one. Very good. But yeah, I mean, I loved that first quarter. I wish it would have just ended there. It was just so beautiful. And to top it off with that kind of Philly special to Justin Herbert on a 2-point conversion, man, it was awesome. There were so many good things going early on in that game. 24 points. It was great.
The first 15 minutes of that game, 15, 18 minutes of that game were amazing. Just Chargers moving the ball up and down the field. That fourth down conversion on the first touchdown drive to score the touchdown was huge to take the lead.
I still don't know how he fit that ball in there.
I honestly, I don't know why he threw it to Keenan, because Eckler was open in the flat and could have walked in for the touchdown. But he got it there.
Yeah.
Greg says Herbert's Pele.
Mm-hmm. And so, so Williams got some deep shots early on. They got Parham involved. He had 2 pretty bad drops today, but Herbert was still threatened as a runner. I mean, there was a lot of good things early on. They had it working and they were cooking. They had it working late too, but man, they stalled out partway through the second quarter and all of the third quarter. But that first quarter was amazing. It was blissful.
I know people will blame Parham for dropping those 2 balls. I thought the throw to Parham in the corner of the end zone, the first throw on it was the first or second touchdown drive.
Oh yeah, where he floated it a little bit.
Where he floated it. I thought that was on Herbert. He just didn't get it there, and he gave the corner a chance to recover and make a play on the ball. That's not really on Herbert. The second, or not really on Parham, excuse me. The second one, I thought it went through his hands, but he was surrounded. That's a pretty low percentage throw that far downfield. Hard to blame him, even though he is 6'8", and it did go right through his hands. That's not an easy catch for sure.
And I think it was against Mike Hilton, who's like 5-0. He had a big height advantage.
Yeah. And no, it wasn't Hilton. It was Apple. It was Eli Apple.
Oh, gotcha.
That went up and interfered with the throw.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about Guyton this game? We mentioned him a little bit. Is he taking back the wide receiver 3 spot?
I mean, I don't know that he ever really lost it fully. They seem like they've been trying to force him into that role, and he made some plays today. So,
yeah.
Whereas, as Isaac pointed out, Palmer had that deep ball, not the best thrown ball, probably a ball that should have been thrown out in front of him a little bit. He had to stop and come back for it. But definitely had 2 hands on the ball and needs to come down with it. So that's a tough one for Palmer.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a real bad one, especially when you give it up to the defense there. But yeah, I mean, they were working. They were kind of getting close to a 50-50 between him and Guyton and Palmer. But I mean, one game doesn't change things. I mean, we saw early on that jet sweep not work again. He made a catch on a deep ball that was crazy good.
That catch in the end zone was phenomenal. Probably the
Yeah,
best catch of his Chargers career. Maybe the best, one of the more important catches of the game as a whole. That was a huge catch for him, for the Chargers, for his career, I think, and his standing on the team, because he had to wrestle that ball away from, I think it was Eli Apple, if I'm not mistaken.
no, that was Jesse Bates.
Oh, was it Jesse Bates?
Yeah,
Yeah, he
the
had to
third.
wrestle that ball away from Bates in the end zone to come down with it. That was a huge play.
Yeah, and a throw I wouldn't want Herbert to make twice. But he made the play. Guyton did, and he had defensive pass interference on him too. So he was being draped all over and still made the catch. So that was huge. And then there was a really big completion, but he was wide open off RPO. So he had a good game. I can't take anything away from him, but I don't think he's our wide receiver 3.
Yeah, Craig's making a good point. He reminds me a little bit of Travis Benjamin. He is terrified of getting hit.
Are you talking about this right here?
Yes, Guyton is terrified of getting hit. Even on that long catch and run, he wasn't running so much as he was twisting around and waiting for somebody to come up and hit him, and he fumbled that ball in anticipation of contact. So he made a nice play. He caught the ball. He ran with it, but he was looking over his shoulder ready to get hit on that play.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he maybe could have scored on it, but he didn't because of the way he was kind of tiptoeing through contact. He does not want to get hit at all. And there were a few plays that showed that.
Yeah. One of them was a third down catch where he caught it right after the sticks. He got the first down and then basically like turtled up and then like got in a shell and like basically wanted to sit down in the field and not get hit. Yeah. I could see that Travis Benjamin comp for sure. For sure. All right. So what do we do here? Victor's talking about Jalen Guyton, Chris Harris, Tavon Campbell, all made impactful plays today. All guys we've railed on for weeks on end. Do we let up here?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, Campbell had a fumble pop up into his hands, and he had wide open field in front of him. He made a great play to scoop it.
Yeah.
But he still did not play all that well in coverage. He still had some issues tackling. Did not, outside of that fumble recovery, I didn't think he played particularly well. Harris, same issues, not covering well, not tackling well. He made a great play in the end zone. Probably more a bad decision by Herbert than anything, but he did make a good play to high point that ball and go up and get it. Burrow, excuse me.
Yeah.
Did make a good play to high point that ball, but still, I wouldn't say he had a great game.
Yeah, Harris and Campbell were more negative than positive, even though they had 2 impactful plays. I mean, good on both of them, and they made plays there. But the other snap outside of that, not so much. And again, we got the Chris Harris special, the complaining after a completion right in front of him, pointing at somebody else. That is somebody else's fault again today. Yep. No, I mean, I know you didn't ask the question, but obviously, they didn't play great. And God, man, when they were throwing, was it T. Higgins on the sideline where Burrow basically like floated it? Oh, he threw it to the moon and back
in the air for like an hour. That thing just hung,
and he couldn't get there.
Yep.
Oh, that was awful. Let's see what else we want. There's a lot of things here. I'm just catching up here. Let's see. Yeah, I missed it. Yeah, so I mean, why don't we talk about Chris Rumph, who had some big plays today? He had the big sack. I mean, the horse collar right after it didn't help, but he had the big hit on the 4th down to force the incompletion on Burrow, and he filled in nicely. Had 2 big splash plays today.
He also had a really big hit on special teams on a kick return, I believe. Rumph had a really good game. Nwosu had a really good game. Both those guys really played well in Bosa's absence, I thought. But yeah, lots of guys stepping up. I mean, when your star Joey Bosa isn't on the field and can't be on the field, you need guys to step up, and they got They got great performances out of all of their edge players, really. I mean, Fackrell didn't have a sack, but he was in the backfield quite a bit and definitely affected some passes. And I think forced Burrow to step up into a few sacks a couple of times. So all those edge guys played really well. Derwin stepped up late in the game with that splitting that sack with Adderley.
Mm-hmm.
On the next possession, he came up and whacked some. I think he whacked Mixon on a little dump off pass. He was playing deep and came all the way up and hit Mixon before he could get going. Couple really, really big plays by Derwin there. I mean, just when it looked like the whole defense was ready to fold, everybody just kind of rallied and stepped up and made some plays.
Yeah. Nwosu, big strip sack. Man, it was great. I mean, to be able to like work back to the quarterback and then rather than going for the sack, stick his hand out and try to swipe it before he tackled him was awesome. And the dive on it was even better. So he made a big play today too.
Yeah, I mean, I think Nwosu is really. He seems like his game is ascending. He was really good. What game was that a couple weeks ago? It was a Steelers game.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good game against the Steelers. He played well again, although he wasn't as it wasn't as pronounced of a good game last week, and he was outstanding this week. It seems like he's really growing into his role as a second edge rusher. And if not for Bosa getting hurt, it seems like he's really starting to steal some of those snaps away from Fackrell, where in the beginning of the year, it seemed like the coaches were leaning towards Fackrell as the number one guy opposite Bosa because they felt like he was a little bit more well-rounded than Nwosu. But you just can't deny Nwosu's pass rush, and he's been really good setting the edge the last 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep, and Bobby Reynolds came in. Yeah, you missed it. We talked about it. Mixing 54 yards, that's huge. 1 touchdown, that was big today. And then are you worried about Bosa? He had a concussion.
That's what, his second concussion this year?
Yep.
Third in 2 years.
Now is the time. Talked about it.
Good to hear he cleared concussion protocol.
Yeah.
But definitely concerning. I think it's now 3 concussions in 2 years.
2
That's
years,
worrisome.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Big time. Yeah, so yeah, definitely worried. I mean, look at what's going on with Santi Samuel Jr. Those are no joke. And then there was Nick, who was talking about that Tranquil delayed blitz, an absolute game-changing call. Yeah, I really think it started with that Derwin James corner blitz.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just a side note. Did you see that Chris Harris corner blitz today?
No.
That thing took, you could have, that was, you could have timed that with an hourglass. That was so slow developing. And then eventually they got it right and sent guys like Derwin and Kaiser and Tranquil. But yeah, that's when I felt like it flipped when they started sending guys other than their pass rushers to get some added pressure from different angles and everything. That was huge.
When they got creative and aggressive?
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Again, Isaac talking about RB2, not giving up on Eckler, but he's getting a lot of work in. Ito Smith signing coming soon. Who knows? And Eckler went down late. I hope, I don't know how serious his injury is, but.
Yeah. I mean, Eckler had a rough day today. He took a beating. I thought the first fumble was really more just a good play by the defense than it was a bad play by Eckler. They were holding them up and Bates came out and stripped the ball out. Granted, you have to hold on to the football, but I just thought that was a good play by the defense. The second one was rough. That one, I really thought if they had called it an incomplete pass on the field, it probably would have stood as an incomplete pass on the field because he caught it and he was hit as he was turning up field. I didn't really think he made the quote unquote football move. But 2 fumbles in the same game by your RB1, that's a problem. It's not something that Eckler normally does. He has had issues with it early in his career. It seemed like he really fixed that. He's been really reliable with the football. So hopefully that's something he gets corrected. But it was really clear. It must be in the scouting report for the Chargers. Anytime the Bengals were finishing a play, it seemed like they were holding up whoever the ball carrier was and trying to rip that ball out. So it's got to be somewhere in the scouting report. Something they got to work on. I mean, to the point that it seemed like the officials were letting these plays stretch out, waiting for the ball to come out.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were a few plays where it seemed like forward progress had stopped. The ball carrier, whoever it was wrapped up and and the play should have been whistled dead, but it seemed like they were sitting around waiting for the ball to come out, which is odd because you get that, and then you get that play with Cook on the sideline in the fourth quarter where he's clearly still in bounds. He has not had his forward progress stopped. He makes a football move upfield and stretches the ball out and is clearly still in bounds with the ball in the general vicinity of the line to gain, and they call forward progress and call him down. I mean, he was not down. So the juxtaposition of those two calls, the way they're calling those players, holding people up and trying to rip the ball out versus that play with Cook, there's something wrong there. I just didn't like the way I didn't like the way the game was called in general. The OPI call on Keenan.
Oh my God.
Just
because
brutal.
Jamar Chase did the same thing to Michael Davis later on, extended the arm and pushed off.
Yeah. It's just bad. That crew is just awful. That's the worst crew in the league, in my opinion. They've more penalties than anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And they obviously don't know what they're doing. I mean, it seemed like they had to conference 2 or 3 times late in the game because they didn't know how to make a particular call. But that, I already said my piece. That forward progress call was awful.
Yeah, and awful. then one of the ones you're talking about where they had a huddle and talk about it. I mean, they're like scraping Justin Herbert while he's on the ground and trying to pull the ball out, and Slater's trying to get the other guy off of him. It was just like, how is there nothing being called here? He's on the ground and he's still trying to pull a ball out of his hands. It was very up and down. I don't know. I'm always fine with if they're going to call it tight like that, but they've got to go both ways, and it was just not that way today.
Yeah.
Not that it hurt the Chargers, but
it didn't hurt them. Thankfully, it could have.
Yeah.
That OPI call on Keenan really killed the drive for them. It seemed like they were going to start moving the ball, and that completely flipped the momentum again. As it seemed like the Chargers were starting to get it back, it flipped the momentum for the offense, and things started to fall apart again. So that was just a bad call.
Yeah. All right. So John wants to know, how are you feeling about Lombardi's play calling today? Can we take out the second and third quarter? Because 8+.
I mean, I had issues with some of it. I thought there were particular points in the game where he didn't really understand the flow of the game or the tempo of the game. The one that got me was after the second turnover, where the Chargers have the ball inside the Cincinnati 40-yard line. And they come out and I believe they run on first down, and then they try to pass, and Herbert winds up scrambling. Not even an attempt to throw the ball down the field. They're not able to really advance the ball in that possession, and they wind up settling for a field goal. That's a point where, I think you've got to turn that into a touchdown, and you've got to take a shot. You've got a sudden change in plus territory, even if it's, throwing a ball up for Mike down the field along the sideline and trying to let him go up and get it. You've got to try to push the envelope and push the ball down the field to get that 13, 14 point lead instead of the 9-0 lead. I thought he dropped the ball there. It seemed like he was having a hard time finding something that worked in the second and third quarter and early in the fourth quarter. Just couldn't get a rhythm, couldn't get anything going. The second down runs, big problem. Still, it seems like if it's 2nd and 10, if it's 2nd and 1, if it's 2nd and 5, they're running the ball. It doesn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And everybody in the building knows it. And that's the big issue, is when you don't get anything on first down and everybody knows you're running it on second down, you're always going to be in 3rd and long. And that really hurt them, I thought. They had a lot of 3rd and long, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10, several 3rd and 15 situations because they just couldn't get out of their own way on second down. And that's been my biggest complaint with Lombardi all season. I mean, granted, the offense did put up
41.
Well, 7 of those were.
Oh,
7 of those were from the defense.
Just count it.
But his offense put up 30+ points. Herbert had over 300 yards. Everybody's been begging for deep balls. They hit several big plays for deep balls.
Mm-hmm.
Eckler was involved and had a solid game outside of the fumbles. They got Mike involved down the field. They got Guyton involved down the field. They tried to get Palmer involved down the field. Didn't see as much of Cook early in the game.
Mm-mm.
It seemed like and we saw some screens. I think at least 2, if not 3 of Eckler's 5 receptions were screen plays, and they all worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
So for the most part, we saw the things that we've been begging for the whole season. They put up 30 plus points. I just think the first and second down issues continue to limit this offense's potential. They need to try to pick up 4, 5, 6, 7 yards on first down to set up easier second downs, and it'd be nice if they didn't run the ball on second down, regardless of the down and distance.
Yeah, that second down run thing I was going to bring up because there was a lot of that today. But I'm starting to get the feeling, and it feels like it's becoming a pattern. But anytime the Chargers get backed up at any point, where there's a holding call early on first and second down, and it's second and 10, 12, 15, he's still running it like it's second and 5, second and 6. There isn't like he gets behind the sticks. It's second, third and long, and he's not playing it to get chunk yards and then set up a third and short. He's trying to then get all the yards on second down, doesn't get it, then try to get it all on third down. It just doesn't feel like there's a natural progression to where they fall behind on yardage and try to make it up later on. It just feels like once they get backed up to second and 15, second and 18, there was a third and 20, whatever, they're already having problems and they just can't get ahead of themselves. They're just basically saying, hey, get me all these yards now rather than trying to pick up chunks at a time, making it more third manageable. And that's been going on for a long time, and it happened a lot today too.
Yeah, it did happen a lot today. And I've also noticed when you get second and really long, like say after a penalty or a sack, it seems like they're throwing a 2 or 3 yard completion to Mike Williams every time.
Right.
Not even trying to get a chunk.
Right.
It's like just get the ball out quickly and get whatever you can.
Right.
Hoping for Mike to make somebody miss or break a tackle, which I don't think he's done all season.
Mm-mm.
Maybe once or twice at the most.
That's the point I'm making. On second down, it's no longer trying to pick up, if it's second and 20, they're not trying to pick up 10 yards and make it a third and 10. It's a 2 to 3 yard dump off to Parham on a screen that they can't get work in. And then they're set up behind the sticks and it's third and 22, So there were a lot of good things today. The RPO in particular was stellar. And I love that they brought that out today and it worked to perfection. There's a lot of great things today. Like you mentioned, 34 points from the offense. That's great. You can't really complain about that, but I think obviously this is still a work in progress. I think they get too bound up and they clam up when it's second, third and long. I think there's way too many second down runs. And, I don't think we're seeing enough of that early, like Mike Williams' big X role anymore, which was working so well. But yeah, I just think, I think there was a lot of good things today, but obviously, far from perfect.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not perfect. They definitely went through a period where the offense was kind of sluggish and they couldn't block, they couldn't run. Herbert was under constant pressure. I mean,
yeah,
I'll have to go back and watch the all 22. I'm not sure what changed, but it seemed like they went from Herbert standing in a clean pocket, having time to pick the defense apart in the first quarter, to Herbert being under constant pressure in the second and third quarter. And it just took him a while to figure out how to quell that, how to stop that pressure. And again, I'll have to go back and watch it. I'm not sure what happened, but it just seemed like everybody was winning on every snap for the Broncos, getting in the backfield, or for the Bengals, getting in the backfield and affecting Herbert. So that was concerning. There was one play where they got a sack. They had a 3-man rush. They dropped 8 on third and long.
Yeah.
And Hendrickson just whipped Rashawn Slater and got home for the sack. That kind of stuff can't happen. You can't have a 3-man rush getting home that quickly.
Yeah. And Hendrickson was pretty quiet today for the most part. I thought Slater did pretty good, but on that sack, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it came from Slater's side. That was crazy. Yeah, there was a lot of protection issues in the middle of that game for sure.
Yeah, it seemed like they were having some communication issues on the line because you started seeing Ogunjobi had a sack, Hendrickson and Hubbard got home. It just seemed like everybody was right on top of Herbert. The interior in particular was having some issues, and that kind of opened up opportunities outside. So I don't know if that was just a one-off thing because that is a good defensive line group. They have a very good defensive line. Their edges are really good, which makes things a lot easier on the interior guys. But that was two solid quarters of just not being able to block anybody.
Yeah. So Neil's got the question. And I think you're new here, so welcome, buddy. Is he top 3 all time Chargers head coach again? Staley? Has he reached it?
I'll say he's top 4.
He hasn't got back in the top 3 yet?
Not yet.
All time? But man, but in all honesty, this win today very well felt like Staley had his stamp on it a little bit. And this is a team that this is a game this team would have lost in years past. So just being aggressive early on, going after the Bengals, building up that big lead. They wanted to go for 2 at one point. They did go for 2. They went for it on 4th down. I mean, there was a lot of going for it, wanting to go for the kill and make sure you win on a road against a really good team because they could put points on the board and they could have easily won this game. But I felt like Staley helped kind of push it over the edge today.
Yeah, there was one point, though, that I wanted to bring up, and I mentioned this on Twitter. Okay. I was kind of surprised. So they went up 9. They went from 24 to 22 to 31-22. They scored that touchdown, and Staley was going to go for 2 to make it a 10-point game. There was a false start penalty, and they wound up having to kick the PAT.
To go up 9.
Then they get the ball, and they go down, and they score again. And they have a chance to make it 17 with 10:43 left. So a 3-score game. And you're at a point in the game where you're really starting to count possessions, and you're trying to make it basically put the game out of reach. Instead of going for 2 and making it a 17-point game, they kicked the PAT and kept a 2-score game. Now, granted, it's 2 scores with 2 2-point conversions.
Right.
However, in my opinion, I think that's a game management issue. It didn't hurt them this time, but it's the kind of thing you want to keep an eye on later because you're on the road. You don't want to give them any hope. And at that point, a 17-point lead, that puts the game away. And what happened? They get the ball. The Bengals get the ball back. They go right down the field. The Chargers wind up getting the pick in the end zone, but they were down in scoring position in a minute 43, threatening to make that a 1-score game when you had a chance to make it a 3-score game. Those are the kind of things you want to see Staley, who says he's analytically driven, take advantage of. He's taking advantage of the 4th downs. He went for it earlier to make it 24-22 or 24-0, I should say. They need to take even if you don't get it and you're still up 15, you're still up 2 scores, nothing changes. You got to take the shot at making that a 3-score game.
Oh, see, I'm curious what the analytics are on that because I didn't really have a problem with it. I think that if you're making them score and have to go for 2 twice, that's a pretty big probability that they might not get it. But 3 scores is 3 scores, obviously. But still, I think that's pretty high to take the gimme extra point at that point. I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I'd want to check the analytics, but in my opinion, I think anytime you have a chance to go up 3 scores versus going up 2 scores, you want to go up 3 scores in that situation because they're probably only going to have 2 possessions left anyway at the most. So if you go up 3, you're basically sealing that game. Now they need 3 touchdowns to win it. That game is over. And there's really no difference between a 15-point game and a 16-point game. Granted, they need 2 2-point conversions, but either way, it's a 2-score game. I think in that situation, you want to go for the throat, especially on the road, and put that game away. But that's me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. And Luke is here. Everyone was wrong. Chargers won. That's true. And you're talking to 2 guys who predicted the Bengals to win today.
Yep, we did.
and I remember going, but who would be surprised if they go on the road and beat a team like the Bengals? Because this is so a Jekyll and Hyde type of team. They could be great and win on the road like this, go up 24 points early in a game in a first quarter, or lose to like the Broncos. So, yeah, they won. Everybody picked the Bengals to win this game, and they were favorites.
They were favorites. They're at home. They're red hot. The Chargers are coming off a bad loss to a team I think they really should have beaten, the Broncos.
Oh, yeah.
And better quarterback play, better skill players. The Chargers defense is struggling. In my opinion, I think that's a game. I think it makes sense to pick them to lose that game. Happy they won. Maybe I'll just pick them to lose the rest of the way. We'll work the reverse jinx from now on.
Yeah, man. That's what I was saying. Afterwards, we're like, we got the reverse jinx going. So here we go. So who's worse, Jamie? Mike McCoy or Anthony Lynn?
Oh my God. They're basically the same person. I'll say Lynn. I guess Lynn.
Really?
Just they were both really bad.
And so they are so evenly matched. There's just something about Mike McCoy and his visor
Milk
and that
toast.
that whole milk toast. Yeah, exactly. Yes, that personality, that like picture of him like with his hand over his head, and the one where Gates got to put his hand on his shoulder. He's
Where
like
he's
crouched
crying on the
down.
sideline
Yeah,
against the Broncos.
right. That's where I got to give Lynn the edge. At least in my mind, him flex on the sideline for that fourth down goal line stop. That is more ingrained in my mind for Lynn, which is more on the positive side. But for Mike, all I can remember is all those pictures, and then him getting mad at the media, him going after Eric Williams. McCoy did, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say McCoy was worse in my mind, but God, are they close?
They're really close.
Yeah.
Lynn is just so much fresher in my mind with his
Mm-hmm.
inability to answer questions about obvious game management and clock management issues,
Yeah.
getting mad at reporters having the gall to ask him about those things.
Mm-hmm.
Man, he was so bad.
Yeah. I mean, he couldn't even hang as an offensive coordinator against a winless for a winless football team. He dragged the lines down with him too.
Yep. The other memory of McCoy was that Raiders game where they're down 30-0 at halftime.
And he kicked a field goal. Oh my God. Yes.
Okay, I changed my mind. McCoy's worse.
Yeah. Let's talk about the run game. Lucas Leonard said, "What happened to the Chargers' run game? Herbert did too much play action." I don't think he did too much play action today. Do you?
They had a lot of success with the play action.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the run game wasn't great. I agree with your first part of your question.
The offensive line wasn't performing very well, but they were able to run the ball fairly effectively at the end of the game when they needed to.
Oh, yeah.
Another situation where, we saw it against the Raiders and we saw it to some extent against the Washington football team where they have a lead late and they're able to bleed several minutes off the clock running the ball. So they were able to have some success late. But, yeah, this just isn't a running football team. They run as a change of pace. They run for effect to keep teams honest and to set up the play action. This is not a team that's going to run the ball down people's throats. It's just not how they're set up.
Yeah. All right. Reverse jinx is winning, says Morgan. Let's see. Let's got some more here. Just going through the questions here. If you guys got questions, we're probably going to wrap it up here pretty soon. So send it in. Let's see. Just going through it now. All right. Yeah. So send us your questions and we'll answer them. Anything else you can? What about Tillery today? It was a real bummer that Justin Jones went out today because the run defense was so good early on. They decided to scale down Jerry Tillery's snaps early on rundowns, and we saw some real good work from those guys that we've talked about. And then, of course, Justin Jones goes down, who had his thumbprint on the drive before that, I believe, or maybe it was 2 drives before that, where he got was in there and got a sack on 3rd down, helped on a big run stop behind the line of scrimmage. So he was playing pretty good today. And then he went out, and then here comes Tillery, and things started to go downhill.
Yeah, they started with Tillery out on 1st and 2nd down on the first couple possessions, but then once they got a lead, he was right back out there on 1st and 2nd down. So it was like, hey, this is working. Okay, we're done.
Let's go away from
I'll say this. Everybody knows how I feel about Tillery. I'm not shy about my thoughts on Jerry Tillery, but I thought, even though he didn't make any plays per se, I thought he contributed to some of the interior pressure, forced Burrow to step up a couple times into sacks or flee the pocket. And he did have, I think, 1 quarterback hit, if I'm not mistaken. So Tillery flashed a couple times, still not very good, but I think if they can use him as a situational edge / interior rusher at times, that's probably the best use for him. He just can't be on the field on 1st and 2nd down. Teams just run right at him. And right now, it seems like they're still figuring that out, but they're getting closer to figuring it out. Fehoko and Gaziano both played really well early in the game to help bottle up Joe Mixon. Got to see more of that. A lot more of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they played great early on. And hopefully they'll stick with that for 4 quarters. Let's see. Nick, of course, wants to know, is there a free agent running back, too, you'd like to see them bring in? They brought in a guy, look out last week. Yeah, it was Ito Smith, the former Falcons running back. I know he wants us to say Le'Veon Bell. Would you take Le'Veon Bell here now behind Jackson, Kelly, Roundtree?
I don't know. I would normally say no. But those guys are so bad. They're so useless right now that it may not be a bad idea just to get some fresh legs in there and somebody who, can actually see holes and hit holes and do his job.
And Bell doesn't look good at all. He got cut by the Ravens, who need all the running back help they could possibly get. I mean, they've lost like what feels like 7 running backs this year, and he couldn't stick there. So, yeah, I don't know any off the top of my head of any free agent running backs. Ito Smith was interesting coming out of college.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be okay with that. I think he's an immediate upgrade over pretty much everybody they've got behind Eckler.
Yeah.
Did they have all 5 backs active today?
I don't know.
I don't remember seeing any of the backs on the inactive list, but I could have missed it.
Oh, that's a good question.
I wonder,
because I don't think I saw that either.
Because I wonder if the special teams was the kick coverage outside of, I think, one kick was really, really good today. And I wonder if they're using those guys on special teams, just trying to force them to work their way up. I'm pretty sure none of those guys were inactive. And I wonder if that's why the special teams look so much better.
Well, I know we saw Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson take handoffs today, so they
both played on offense. Bradwell definitely was not on offense. I don't think Roundtree was on offense. I'll have to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Oh, Nick's saying Bradwell was inactive.
Oh, okay. There you go. But Roundtree was active. That's 4 running backs.
Inactive. Yeah, they had four backs active.
Right. Yeah.
While we're on the subject of the running backs, can we please do one thing, because it's driving me freaking crazy? Can we not have Joshua Kelly be the 3rd down pass protector? Like, have we not seen enough of this guy?
How terrible
was he
today?
Fucking block. Can we not do that, please?
Oh.
No more. No more. It doesn't work.
I'm glad you brought that up, because he's already in the doghouse as a pass blocker. Why are you putting him in on the most important down in football? Why would you do that to protect Justin Herbert? Forget about it. If you're gonna activate 4 running backs, Joshua Kelly is your 7th person you put back there. Put Scott Quessenberry back there, or anybody who, by the way, got some run at the goal line carry. I don't know if you saw that, but Quessenberry got in on a jumbo package at the goal line.
Oh, did he?
Which is nice. Yeah. There's a Scott Quessenberry sighting today. But put anybody back there but Joshua Kelly. That's stupid. And you're absolutely right, and I'm glad you said it. I meant to bring it up.
That's encouraging with Quessenberry, because they've been using Kelemete in that extra offensive lineman role.
Who's inactive today?
Who was inactive today?
He played his ass right off the roster.
That didn't take long at all. Why does it take so long with other people, but he's so quick to be gone?
Yeah, I know.
Can we just make those same quick decisions, please?
Yeah. I mean, Filer was back, which is fine, but that is such a quick hook, and I love it. Get him out of there. It was
well earned.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. Nwosu stepped up. Are we worried about Bosa? Could be out. Absolutely, Junius. We talked about it a little bit earlier. 3 concussions, 2 years. That's scary.
Well, correction. They're saying he cleared concussion protocol, so it wasn't a concussion.
Oh, gotcha.
If it was a concussion, he wouldn't have cleared the protocol.
Right.
It wasn't a concussion, and I would assume, unless he has lingering side effects starting tomorrow, that hopefully he'll be on the field next week.
Right. So just a head injury is what they're saying?
I think it was precautionary, it sounds like.
Yeah. All right. What is the Chargers' biggest need in 2022?
How much time do you have?
I know. We've talked about this. I feel like every after hours. Right tackle, cornerback.
Edge.
Wide receiver.
Right guard.
RB2.
They need speed at wide receiver big time.
Yeah.
They need a wide receiver 2. They need a wide receiver 3. I think the tight end position is going to change quite a bit next year. I'm not sure Cook will be back. Not sure what to expect from Parham at this point. Not sure if they'll bring back Anderson. We know McKitty will be back because they just drafted him. But this is a team that has a chance to make the playoffs. I think they're probably still going to win 10 or 11 games is my guess. But this roster is going to turn over quite a bit, and they're going to have a lot of needs.
Oh, yeah. We'll just
Right
go
tackle and edge are big ones, though. And
For sure.
obviously, defensive tackle. We missed defensive tackle. How do we miss that?
Because it's always the biggest need and so obvious, and we overlooked it. And we say it every year.
And they never do anything about it. So why bother talking about it?
Yeah, Martin, what do you guys think about Joe Burrow with that pinky injury? I felt like it was over animated and crying like a baby. Dude, that guy's finger was twice the size of a normal pinky. He almost, no doubtedly, broke it or did some major damage to it. So I don't think it was him crying like a baby at all. I think they did something to it, and it helped him out later in that game. But no, man, I think he really, really hurt his finger, and I think that's pretty obvious.
I'm sure he had some kind of a shot or something. He had to have.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't hold or throw or guide a football without your pinky.
Yeah,
it requires a lot of pressure on that pinky.
Right before half, he caught a ball with 4 fingers and basically tossed it to Mixon.
He was
couldn't even hold the ball.
going out of his way to keep his pinky from touching the football. At that point. So yeah, I don't think he was crying like a baby. I think he was in a lot of pain. And while I don't think it wound up affecting the game as much as people will say it did, he was definitely in a lot of pain, and he is one tough son of a bitch for playing through that, because that's not easy for somebody who has to grip and throw a football.
Oh no, So no, I don't think so, and I also don't think it had a big effect on the game like we talked about earlier. I mean, and they're going to talk about it on Monday and how some of these injuries happen and everything, but that none of that had any effect on this game.
They're gonna try to turn him into Phillip Rivers playing with a
oh
ACL.
God,
I guarantee it.
Now he's Phillip Rivers. He went from Wayne Gretzky to Phillip Rivers, huh? Great. All right. Let's see. Just going through these questions. Ooh, MK Adams really bringing the heat with these shitty questions. Who is worse, Derek Cox or Orlando Franklin?
I would say Franklin, because we had such high hopes for him. He was so good in Denver, and it seemed like such an obvious fit, whether he was going to be playing guard or tackle. And he was so bad and had such a hard time staying on the field. I think it was worse in terms of being way more disappointed. Cox was that's a totally different story. That was just a bad signing from the beginning. He was nowhere near as good as Telesco thought he would be or wanted him to be. And I think that was kind of predictable. But the Franklin one, that one hurt because of all the money they spent on him and how it seemed like he was going to be such a good fit to have him fall on his face like that. I think that was the worst one.
God, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Because it's 2 different sides of the coin here, because Derek Cox was never going to be good. He was not a good player. And Telesco tried to throw money at a position of need, and Cox wasn't the dude. Orlando Franklin was good at one point with Denver.
He was a top 5 guard and tackle for the Broncos.
Yeah. He was on our free agent show. We wanted him.
He was the number 1 free agent that we wanted at that point, and I think he was the top available offensive lineman in the market. Yeah. And he just totally shit the bed. So that's an easy one.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. No question here, but you guys are the best Chargers podcast out there. Thank you. Why is Joshua Kelly in on 3rd down? Very good question, Morgan. Great question.
Why is Joshua Kelly in at all?
That's an even better question. All right, last one. Worst 3rd-round pick in Telesco's tenure, Nathan Riviera. Thank you. Is it Craig Manger?
Yeah. No, I think it's Pipkins. Because Maker actually played on special teams and made some plays and stuck on the roster for a while.
That doesn't make him good
after this year. Doesn't make him good, but it makes him better than Pipkins.
Yeah.
Pipkins, he basically burned a 3rd-round pick with Pipkins.
I mean, he did with both, let's be honest. But yeah, I mean, I think with Pipkins, Oh, somebody's bringing up Max Turk.
Ooh.
Because
that's a bad one too.
That might, that might be it. Because he got no playing time and was just awful.
What about,
at some point? Go ahead.
What round was Joshua Perry drafted in?
5th.
Was it 5th?
Yeah.
I thought it was earlier than that. He was in the same draft as Turk, wasn't he? I think he was a 3rd or 4th round pick.
Well, he wasn't 3rd. It could have been 4th. I thought it was 5th. It might have been 4th. 4th or 5th. Definitely not 3rd. But yeah, man. So, all right. So now it comes down to Max Turk. Somebody saying Chris Watt, but I think Chris Watt did enough at guard to. He was terrible,
I
but
mean, he was a starting center for a long time.
yeah.
I think what made him the worst was that he came out of the blue. Well, I guess all these guys did.
Oh yeah.
Really?
No. Hey, remember, like Craig Manger was at a party, not even thinking he was going to get drafted. Same with Justin Jones. They weren't even expecting to be drafted in day 2, and Telesco reaches up. He does it every year. I'm going to say Max Turk now, just because he got no playing time. I had high hopes for him. I thought he was pretty good at USC. And then at some point in camp, he was rolling the ball back to Rivers. Like he forgot how to snap the ball. That's how bad he got.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think that's a good one. I think it's really close between him and Pipkins.
Yeah.
Like really, really close.
Yeah, and I think Craig Manger probably got enough playing time and probably made enough plays-ish to not be as bad as Pipkins and Turk, who don't even deserve to be on the field. And never did, really.
Yep.
So, all right, guys. Well, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for tuning in. I didn't think we were going to be able to do this today, but we did. So, Jamie is at Lightning_round. I am at Garrett Sisty. Thanks, everybody, for coming on. Huge win by the Chargers today. I'm glad you guys could join us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks, guys.